Hello, I'm Malcolm Haslett.
And I'm Janice Baker. Where do the simplest labour-saving inventions come from?
And what's happening in the world of art? That's next.
On our time.
I wish I'd said that.
We're back. And Malcolm still hasn't got his voice back. You've been talking too much, haven't you, again? Or trying to sing?
Yes, it's just going to take time, that's all. Probably 6 months. Yes, it could take a long time. It's issues with my larynx. And it's interesting too, because I did smoke until I was, I'd like to admit, to 50, but that was 20 years ago. And that's damaged my larynx. And these are things that people don't realise when you smoke, that you're doing all these little bits of damage to your body.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it catches up with you when you age.
Even 20 years later?
Even 20 years later.
Okay.
Because I gave up when I was 20, so... But listen,
No.
What you said in the opening of the show is really interesting, isn't it?
It is.
Where do the simplest inventions come from? And our special guest is Peter. Peter...
Welcome to the program, Peter.
Thanks, Janice. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks,
Peter,
Malcolm.
I was just about to say your surname and then I realised that because we've spelled it incorrectly, I was going to say it incorrectly. So your surname is...
Peter Kulham.
Inventor of the Year.
Yeah.
Peter, you took your invention, before we talk about what it is, you took it to the Shark Tank people.
Yes,
How
I
did you go?
Well, it was probably the most terrifying experience I've ever been in my life. And it ran over 2 or 3 months, because when I put in an application, they said you won't hear anything for a couple of months. Within 2 days, they came back and said, hey, this is pretty good, and fill out this application, which I did. And then they said it'll be another 3 months before we get back to you. 2 days later, it was back and they said, you're on. But in that 3 months, all I thought about was going on Shark Tank and talking about the product, and it really is terrifying. So in that 3 months, every night I rehearsed the first 3 lines of what I was going to say.
No, did you?
Yeah, and a little bit aside, when I did get on, I could remember the first 2 or 3 lines, couldn't remember my name.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
So, and I got those out, and then once they started to ask questions, well, then it was easy.
Yeah.
You know, I know my product, I've been with it for 8 years, we've got a success story behind it, the product works, so it was pretty easy. And, yeah.
8 years, you say?
Oh, yeah, it's about 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I've wasted a couple of opportunities in that time.
Right.
I appointed an agent to handle it, and he kept me on the outside for about 12, 18 months. We were trying to get into the major hardware stores, and what he was trying to do was bring in his own product from manufactured overseas and bring it in.
Right.
And that fell apart, he didn't make it. And then I gave it a very big public company in Adelaide. They wanted it, and I gave it to them, and they turned out different.
Right.
The stock exchange price says they're different. And at that stage I had another company, a print finishing company, which did a lot of work for printers, and we almost had the company dead right where I could walk away and concentrate on that, and the factory burned down.
Oh,
So,
Peter.
and I had an $80,000 machine on the water to bind books,
Yes.
and nowhere to put it and no work. So really I had to concentrate on that, and then eventually I was doing this on the side, and we got a bit of luck with Australia Post. They took it on board with Occupational Health and Safety, and they've got about 35,000 of these now.
Well, we don't know what this is yet, so just stop there, because this is it. This was the first one.
Yes,
Well, not the very first one, but this is what the first invention looks like. And you'd say, looks like the bottom of a milk crate he knocked off.
Yeah, what
But
does
it's
it actually
not what
do?
it does.
Well, it's very simple.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to demonstrate.
Demonstration?
Just bear with me. Hang on a tick. Keep talking.
Okay.
Just get this one out the way.
But this is your idea? This is what you...
Yeah, it's my idea. Yeah, no, I had the idea. There was a series of coincidences.
You're a bit noisy.
Sorry. So, first of all, this goes on there.
Yeah, yep.
Right? And this box... God, I should get... Oops. I should be a labourer for this. Now, it does seem a bit simplistic, but that is so easy to move something on. If you didn't have that, the chances are that your box can slip off, but it sits neatly on there. Am I right?
Well, you're partly right, Malcolm.
Partly right, Malcolm. There you go.
Well, I didn't invent it.
I don't need a sales guy, thanks. but what happens, these cartons, when they come off a production line or a truck, they go on the pallet and then they can be moved. You just slide the hand cutter underneath. You can push the cartons up against the wall. If there was 6 or 5 cartons on that,
stacked up,
and you didn't have a pallet, what you had to do is lean them forward, slide the hand cutter underneath, and then, and that's, you can do it. Big burly guys can do it. Smaller people, when people are not trained, can't. And as an example, Janice, you could move 180, 200 kilograms of weight.
Come on, off you go.
No, thanks. That's all right.
You could easily move 200 kilograms if the products are on the mini pallet, and you just move them.
Slide it on.
But how did you think of this? Because this is the interesting thing about being an inventor, isn't it?
Well, it's like most things. I think they're invented by accident, and this was a series of coincidences. A friend of mine owned the Westlands Hotel at Whyalla, and I was up there helping him move cartons in the cold room one day, and he hurt his back. And he'd probably moved 200,000 cartons in his life, never had a problem. I thought it was a bit of a joke, but it wasn't. It was fairly serious. Anyhow, he was off. He had to be in bed for about 5 days, and I didn't think anything of it. And the next day, I picked up a carton of wine, and the bottom fell out. And it was cheap wine, fortunately, but the mess was terrible. You know,
After you licked up the floor.
Still didn't think anything of it, and about 3 months later, I was at a restaurant, and the truck pulled up to deliver cartons of cool drink. The big burly guy dropped them off on the ground and left. And a couple of young girls went out to move them, and they were carrying these cartons in. And by coincidence, there was a Shep pallet laying against a wall right behind them, and a forklift parked on the corner. And I thought, hey, it was pretty easy. A small pallet used with a sack truck instead of a Shep pallet and whatever. And that was the idea, and I sat on the idea for about 3 months because the tooling was very, very expensive. I made some prototypes and got an engineer to design.
What did you make them out of, the prototypes?
Oh, timber. Yeah, timber.
It's interesting, isn't it, how timber's still that basic.
Very much so. Yeah, some people there was a guy phoned up once he saw these, and he'd made some out of timber, and he said they were costing him $10 each, and plus he had to make them whatever, and this is simple.
Yeah. But it's not only the rectangular one, hang on, as he moves around. Hang on, talk among yourselves.
No.
Oh.
And then you came up with this. Was this a second idea then, after doing the first idea?
Yes, but I think this one's brilliant. Oops.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. People used to put pot plants on the oblong ones.
Yes.
Yes, but
and they didn't look right.
no, but this is great because you can adjust the bottom of this. Did you invent this too?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You see, so that could take something bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be used as a normal hand cart, or because of the opening in the garden pallets are smaller, we needed to have adjustable forks.
Yeah. So this fits on once he gets it right. Malcolm, I'd give up.
Well, I haven't done it before. I never rehearsed. But so that will slip very neatly under there.
Yep.
Well, it does, yes.
It does.
And then you can pop your plant on that and take it anywhere.
Well, you leave your pots on it all the time.
Oh, what a good idea.
Yeah. Well,
And then, as you said before, for me, if I had to move a pot that size with a plant in it, if you've got it sitting on the top of that, then all you have to do is slide that underneath and I could move it quite easily.
Well, moving's only one thing. You can hose underneath, so if it's on a patio, you have a look at pot plants on a patio on cement tiles, move them, and you'll find the tiles are ruined.
Yes.
So you can hose underneath.
Yeah.
It air cools in the summertime, you don't get the heat through there.
Yeah.
If the roots grow down through the pot, they'll air trim, they'll cut themselves off.
Yeah.
If you need to put any poisons out because you've got bugs, you slip them under there because your dogs and your cats can't get them.
Get to them.
Yeah, so, and it cuts the divorce rate by about 50%.
Has any other brilliant ideas gone bang into your head since doing this?
There is one, but my wife said she'd kill me.
Oh,
We've got 1 minute if you can tell us. Can you tell us?
Yeah, well, actually, it's like a little jet ski boat, but it'll be run on batteries, and it will be very, very cheap, very, very simple. Yeah. Just as a side, that people don't say, does it run in your blood to do this? I had experience with material handling stuff, the truck-mounted cranes you see and electric tailgate loaders. I was responsible working for another company to brought those into South Australia. So what you see now, I was involved in. But I had an uncle that was a very good friend of Tom Playford's, and he invented a little sprinkler. It's called a rotor frame. You might have seen it's a little round ring and it flicks around.
Yeah.
And that was invented for Tom Playford to safeguard his nursery up there, his orchard and whatever. And Tom Joe back in about 1950 sold it to Hardy's for something like £54,000. Go back 1950, huge amount of money.
Yes.
And now they're sold in the hundreds of millions around the world.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Pete, good luck with these.
Yes.
I think it's a really interesting story and just shows how if you've got a good idea, move on it. Do something with it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Janice.
Thanks for coming and sharing this with us
Thank you,
on our
Malcolm.
time.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with some artists in just a moment. Well, welcome back to our time and my terrific voice. I'm thinking of swallowing sandpaper in the future. I think that might even be better.
No, I don't think so.
Look, it's our pleasure to welcome two lovely artists and Matthew Ives from the Unley Council with us.
Welcome back, Matthew.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me again. I have. I brought two artist friends of mine this time.
Very nice. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you.
Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you.
Tell us about the Art Prize, Matthew.
So this year again, in 2019, we're offering the All Connections to Unley Art Prize, which is what it sounds like. If you're an artist from anywhere, Perth, Geelong,
Melbourne,
Port Pirie.
Pirie.
If you are an artist from there and that you have some connection to Unley that you have expressed in an artistic form, this time 2D.
Like you drove
3D.
through.
You drove through, you thought it was a fabulous place, you went, oh, just got to capture that moment. You can submit an entry to the All Connections to Unley Art Prize, which is worth, drum roll, $5,000 to the winner. And I'll just get it in now that closes on April the 8th, and all of the details are on the council website.
Okay, and that's in just 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, it'll be about 2 weeks' time. But we first did it in 2016, and it inspired the council to also come up with what was called the Active Ageing Sala Award, which I know that I've talked to you about before in the past. So the beautiful thing about today is I asked Peter Barnes, who was the inaugural winner of our 2016 All Connections Unley Art Prize, to come in.
Yeah.
And then also Andrea Malone, who was the second year winner of the Active Ageing Sala Award, which was worth $2,000 plus free exhibition space at the Hughes Gallery.
Did you buy more paint?
Yes, I did. Or paid some off that I'd already bought.
That's what usually happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
With an art prize, people don't realise that.
Yeah.
So those are our art prizes. So the All Connections to Unley Art Prize, the exhibition will be in June, and we will select finalists, and then on the opening night we'll announce the winner. And then at the end of it, there's also an elected member award that they will vote collectively, which is worth $500.
Is there a particular style of art? Or is it open to any style?
No, open to anything. We didn't do 3D the last time, I don't believe.
No,
we didn't know.
no.
It was 2D artwork only.
Right.
But this time it's 3D as well. There's a few sort of conditions to it. It can't be greater than a metre square.
But that will be on your website.
All the details are on the fabulous website.
Okay.
Which is?
unley.sa.gov.au/arts.
Brilliant.
Easy.
And we've got some work that's been...
Yeah,
that you have.
some of the images that have come up. This was the youth winner back in 2016. This was the children's. This girl was 11.
Wow.
That did this. And this is the well-known Peter Barnes sitting alongside me.
Aha.
And this was the first year of the Sala Award. And this is Andrea's winning submission in 2017 of John Schumann.
Yes.
It's
very
excellent.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Lovely
It's so lifelike.
What started you painting?
I painted as a child. My mother was an artist as well, so she said there's no money in art. So quite true.
Yeah, but it's something you have to do, isn't it?
It is something you have to do.
It's not about the money, it's something that internally you have to get out.
Yeah. So I had a traditional profession for a while when I was an English and history teacher, and then when the children left home I decided I'd go back to university and study a Bachelor of Visual Art degree, which I did at Adelaide Central School of Art. So I graduated in 2016, and that portrait of John Schumann was 2017, so my second year.
Well, you've done other portraits, and let's have a look at them, because they're amazing. But they're special, aren't they?
Well, these were the 2016, he won the Don Dunstan Sala Award, the second image. And these guys, all Vietnam veterans, all suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, who meet twice a week and support each other. So I was trying to draw attention to their plight all these years later, so 50-odd years later, and they're still dealing with it.
Look at that.
And these are some either paintings or prints on metal.
Yeah.
And then this was the Hughes Gallery that I won with Matthews Nunley. So these were some of the images. And this one's at Atkins Gallery at the moment. It's
a wide variety of style that you're working in.
Yes, I sort of, this is across a 9-year span, so I'm just giving a range of some of the things that I've created over a period of 9 years, basically.
Is there something specifically inspired you? For example, the Vietnam vets?
I think portrait painting is my go-to art medium. What I like to portray is the meaning behind in the eyes as possible, and that's why the vets have this 1,000-yard stare, and that's why I wanted to portray them. And John Schumann, I was trying to sort of portray that once you become famous, there's almost two halves to you. So the shadow is the sort of what follows him all the way, the fame that follows him. So I'm most interested in portraying not just the features of a face, but the character behind it and the story.
What lies behind, yes.
How long does it take you to do something like that?
Takes me at least a month to paint a portrait, yes. Yeah.
That's not very long.
Do you have someone sit for you?
Yes. Well, John came up, I think, about 3 or 4 times and entertained me the whole time.
Oh, how lovely.
With stories.
I should have paid him.
Like that. Peter, let's find out a bit more about your story. How did you start painting?
I'm a photographer, so I've yet to paint.
Sorry. Yes.
How did I start in photography? I had an early midlife crisis back in the early 80s and decided that I wanted to stop doing what I was doing then and become a famous photojournalist. And so I went off to the art school at UniSA. Well, it wasn't UniSA, it was the Underdale campus. Well, it was the Underdale CAE, where the art school was located at the time, and studied photography there for a while. They didn't turn me into a photojournalist, and then I got married and had kids, and so it all got put on hold until my mid-50s when I got involved in digital photography and found I could do things that I couldn't do back last century.
Right.
Yes, yeah. And
It's so frightening to hear back last century. And we were all part of it.
Yes. And since then I've developed a bit of a niche as a commercial photographer specialising in architectural and engineering work.
Right. Well, let's have a look at some of your pieces as well, or photos.
So that's an architectural image from...
Well, see, that's what threw me when I saw that.
Yeah.
Because I thought, oh, he's painted that, but not this one, obviously.
No, that's these are North Terrace, the new university buildings on North Terrace, and the convention centre. Inside the SAMRI building, yeah. And this is some personal work that I did last year. And that one was a finalist in the the Moran contemporary photographic art. And I'm finishing off with some drone photographs that I've been experimenting with lately. Yeah.
They're fantastic, Peter.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that. Sorry.
What do you get back with the perfect shot? What do you feel?
Well, it depends if it's been commissioned and it's for a client and I got something which is better than I thought that I was. I get some money, yes, yeah. And that's how I work. I don't sell my time, I sell finished photographs. So my clients will select from the proofs that I supply them, and so the better the photographs are, the more they'll select, the more money I earn. So it works. That keeps me on my toes. But there's a real satisfaction about being able to create something that's compelling and what makes people want to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how many photographs would you take of that one thing to find the right one?
Well, the more I do it, the less I take.
Your eyes become sharper, do you think?
Yes, and you know that you can very quickly rule out those ones that you know are not going to work and focus on hone in on the ones that you know are going to work. Yeah.
Do you use, is it just the natural light, obviously on some of those just natural lighting, but when you've done the ones inside, you use lighting for the...
If I'm working for architects, I use the lights that they've designed to go in there.
Oh, okay. Except
for the other day, I had to... the lights that were at a new pavilion that the SA Cricket Association has opposite the new hospital.
Yeah.
I've got a new pavilion with a big roof pitched with lighting that's supposed to illuminate the underneath of this roof, which is lined with really nice timber. But we couldn't get the lights to work, so I I got the architect to stand with my two little LED panels and move 6 times, and then I blended all those together to create.
Guys, just stay there for one moment. We have to take a break, but we'll be back just to talk a little more with our friends here about art and also about palettes.
We've seen some lovely art. Have you, for people that are wanting to do art, do you have any advice, like, you know, just to start because you really want to, just to go ahead and do it?
I think you've got to pursue your passion and go with what you really want to do and then find a way of funding it. So I undertake commissions and go in for prizes. But
for portraiture?
For portraiture, yeah, right. Principally.
Excellent.
Yeah. So pursue your passion is the main thing.
Well, this is what Peter was saying before, that it had to stop when you had a family, but then you went back to it, didn't you?
Yes, and I developed a passion or an obsession, they're a bit of flip side of the same thing, and used that energy to develop the skills that I now use and get paid for.
And the art prize this year...
I thought you were going to ask me about my obsession with local government.
No.
But you're a great advocate for the arts in local government.
Yes, thank you. So the art prize, all of the information can be found on the council website.
Yes.
Closes April the 8th. Anybody and everybody.
Terrific.
All welcome.
And Peter, the palettes, do you think they're going to have another invention added to the 2 that you've done already?
No, I think my wife will kill me if I talked about it. But
just one quick question. Is there any recycled plastic within the plastic?
Yeah, the round one's fully recycled, and the other one, the next lot of manufacture, will be partly recycled.
And people can find out more on a website?
Yeah, go on the website Mini Palettes and click on the videos on the mini palettes and the garden palettes, and that explains it exactly what they can do.
I know, I've seen it.
Good.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with the competition this year.
Thank
you. Are you both entering?
Maybe.
and ditto.
Well, whatever. Thank you very much for joining us on our time and putting up with my fabulous voice.
Thank you very much.
I can talk beautifully up there now, though.
No, stop.
I just don't think that's the right place.
No, I think you should stop now. Just rest it. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Our Time.